everybody, this is Connor coming back to you with another Encyclopedia Brown mystery for Mike to attempt to solve here. Mike has proven rather adept at these. They get kind of insane, but you've been able to sort of sniff out ignore the noise and focus in on the key details here.
I feel like I am the Bugs Meanie of my generation, only because of the headgear, the hat.
Yes. And you once had your ass kicked by a 5th grade girl. That was how are you recovering from that? By the way,
well,
you had a black eye last week, I think.
That just happened. So yes, I'm still.
Big news, yes.
My jaw. I'm doing the thing, that they do in movies where they like take their jaw and swivel it back and forth, like Like,
are you also holding a steak on it, or one of those hot water bottles?
Yes,
maroon hot water bottles.
Yes, a steak, and a water bottle tied around my head with a giant white, like some sort of handkerchief or towel or something. Yes. So I'm as old timey as hell. So let's go ahead.
Well, that will fit this particular mystery very well. I think it's rather old timey and rather surprising subject matter, I'd say, because. Well, I mean, so we've read a couple of these, and Idaville, the town where there is no crime because of Encyclopedia Brown, it seems like it's sort of just a stand-in for any town USA. Like, I've read nothing that leads me to believe where it is specifically. It has a sort of, Midwestern kind of vibe, like with Jack and Diane could be sucking on chili dogs downtown Idaville behind the Tasty Freeze.
Where would they do that?
Yeah.
Oh, outside of the Tasty Freeze.
Yes. It's but that seems like sort of what he's getting at, is that any town, 1950s Main Street, USA. But this
can I just say something before you start this about that? Because crime documentaries are always in towns like that, and they're always like, that doesn't happen here. Well, I mean, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen every day just because you're a small town. But they're like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, people aren't wrong or evil or immoral here. Like,
right.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just don't have enough sample size.
Yeah, there's a little. You're maybe playing the percentages a bit more, but
yes,
and also by the 100th of these true crime documentaries, you could probably retire that cliche too.
Exactly. Can we stop doing that? Here. Yeah, he was a quiet man who kept to himself. Would you stop that, please? All right.
Yeah, really. At least once you'd be like, I suspected him for years.
That guy's an ass.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So this one it just narrows it down a bit more specifically because it is the case of the Skunk Ape.
Oh, Skunk Ape,
which we've discussed many a times.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a particularly region-specific cryptid of Florida, I think.
That is true. Yep.
So, I mean, they're just maybe they are skunk apes in other parts of the country, more niche regional cryptids, but I've always associated with Florida. So I'm not sure if this is where it's meant to be. It might explain a bit more of the craziness that's going on in Encyclopedia Brown in the case of the Florida man.
Yes. So Idaville, Florida. We can put a pin in that. Look for it.
I mean, it's sort of like Springfield, where whatever the situation dictates, it will accommodate. If there needs to be a baseball stadium, there will be one. Encyclopedia Brown went camping on beachside cliffs in one I read recently. So it just accommodates whatever happens. So
sure, it's yes, in Andy Griffith. Suddenly there are high-powered salesmen coming through town.
Right.
I thought this was the smallest town in the world.
Yep.
But okay.
That happens here. There's symphonies when they need to be. All that
sure.
Stuff.
Yep. Gotcha.
So this is, I believe, we've done 6 of these, and I've just picked ones that I thought were tricky or weird or something. This is the 3rd one that is going to involve a stringed instrument.
Remember, yeah, wasn't there? There was an earlier one.
The one of the mystery ginger ale involved a guy wagering. They both wagered their prized violins.
Right.
The last one we did, the kid had his violin stolen, and then so this one is going to be like that as well. The case of the Skunk Ape. Bugs Meanie had one dream in life. It was to get even with Encyclopedia. Bugs hated being outsmarted all the time. He dreamed of punching Encyclopedia in the mouth so hard that his eyes would be looking for his teeth.
Okay.
It's a very weird way of saying he wanted to knock out his teeth. Like his eyes, that's how you traditionally do look for something.
It is odd. It also makes me question the fact that, so as he passes Sally, Sally, who's beaten the living hell out of him.
Yes.
He just passes her and is like, "Hey, Sally, how's it going? I'm headed over to Encyclopedias. Right. Okay, see you, buddy. Has he ever touched you? No, he's never touched me at all.
Yeah, he should probably admit. So I'm sorry. This is from the 11th book, Encyclopedia Brown Lens of Hand. He should probably acknowledge it's not going to happen now if it hasn't
Sure.
already.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
Because it says, but Bugs never threw a punch. Whenever he felt like it, he remembered Encyclopedia's junior partner, Sally Kimball. Sally was not merely the prettiest girl in the 5th grade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It always drills down. She had done what no boy under 12 had thought was possible. She had knocked Bugs' meanie goofy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it is all right. Okay.
Yeah, he's got a formula here.
This is the lore. Okay,
yeah. That's
sorry.
The word count padding stage of the Encyclopedia
Sure.
Brown books. Whenever they fought, Bugs ended up on the ground, mumbling about the price of yo-yos in China.
Oh boy.
It's like a Tom Waits character slang almost. Because of Sally, Bugs had quit bullying the boy detective. He never stopped trying to get revenge, however. I don't know whom Bugs hates more, you or me, Encyclopedia told Sally. He'll never live down the lickings you gave him. We retired licking as before I was born, I feel like.
I don't think that I've ever said it in my lifetime. Boy, oh boy, that fella sure gave me a licking. Mike, are you all right?
Yeah, I would hope so. There was, I think, a Dr. Seuss book. I could lick 40 tigers, maybe.
Okay.
Always puzzling to me. Before Sally could answer, Gus Sarmiento rushed into the detective agency. They have a Wu-Tang, name generator. We need an Encyclopedia Brown bit character name generator. It's bizarre. Gus Sarmiento rushed into the detective agency. His mouth was open wide enough to swallow His mouth was open wide enough to swallow a watermelon sideways. Insane.
This is like, your gym coach or your, junior high basketball coach style stuff where you're like, all right, boys. Yeah. I want to see your mouths open wide enough to swallow a watermelon sideways. And you're like, I don't know what you're saying. Put your shirt back on, too. Your back is all hairy.
McNally, pick it up. You're dragging more ass than a dog whose parents ran out of dewormer.
And then the inevitable, come on, ladies. You're like, what? I don't know what. We're not ladies. Also, what's wrong
ladies
with
in our gym class? I don't understand.
Anyway, okay, so yes.
So his mouth was open. Gus was Idaville's leading boy cello player. So I think we've already encountered the leading boy author, leading boy violinist, and now the leading boy cello player. Someone is keeping rankings of all these. Actually, he had first started learning to play the violin. Because of his flat feet, he had switched to the cello. The violin was smaller, but the cello was played sitting down. So hopefully that'll keep Gus out of Vietnam as well.
Wait a minute. He stopped playing?
He stopped playing the violin because of his flat feet.
What?
The violin was smaller, but the cello was played sitting down. It must be a humor, orchestra humor.
Okay, I'm just trying to follow the clues there. I feel like that's a clue, but all right, fair enough.
I don't want to influence you one way or another there.
Sure, yep.
I saw it, he wailed at the detectives. The skunk ape! It reached into my bedroom window. The skunk ape was Idaville's abominable snowman, a creature supposedly half man, half ape. I don't believe in skunk apes, said Sally. Did you smell it? I smelled the carpet, answered Gus. I was so scared I fell on my face. He let out a moan at the memory. A hairy arm reached in and grabbed my empty cello case, he said. Ha, said Sally, a musical skunk ape. This I want to see. Encyclopedia wished Sally weren't always so brave, but he dared not show a yellow streak. He followed her and Gus to Gus's house.
I feel like we've had the yellow streak before, which is going to be puzzling to anyone under the age of 107.
Yeah. Come on. See, I'm not yellow. I'll lick you good.
Hey, you. I'm just sore is all. I'll sock you in the puss. I ain't yella.
I think I've encountered ones that have had sore and puss as well. So,
Okay.
That's great. He followed her into Gus's house. He says, "I was practicing on the cello when I saw the arm," said Gus. "I always practice between 2 and 3 o'clock." His voice trailed off. He had halted outside his bedroom window. In a spot of soft earth was a huge footprint. Encyclopedia's scalp twitched. This is my most hair-raising experience since I pulled off my turtleneck sweater. He joked weakly.
Well, yes. Yeah. I like that. Who's the author? Gave up on that
Donald
one. And
Sobel.
Donald was like, all right.
I am cranking out a lot of these. I smell a rat, not a skunk ape, said Sally. Doesn't Wilma Hutton live near here? Three houses down the block, answered Gus. She's Bugs Meany's cousin, said Sally, and she plays the cello. Without another word, the 3 children headed for Wilma's house. I like how these are sort of Columbo-esque, where it's like the perpetrator is always very obvious. They just have to sort of find out how they did it.
They know from the beginning.
Look, said Gus. They never are roughing someone up in the interrogation room, and it turns out they've got the wrong person. Look, said Gus, pointing. A cello case lay among some trees at the side of the garage. As Gus lifted the case, a car came up the driveway. Wilma Hutton jumped out. She hurried toward the house, taking tripping little steps because of her tight skirt. All the while, she screamed, "Police! Police!" The front door swung open. Out charged Bugs Meany. Behind him was Officer Carlson. "There's your skunk ape, officer," cried Wilma. As I drove up, those kids were putting the costume in that cello case. And then it has a picture of Officer Carlson, Bugs Meany, Wilma, Sally, and Gus and Encyclopedia. 3 of them are holding their nose as they pull this really crappy, Bigfoot-looking costume out of the cello case.
Sure.
"That's a dirty lie," exclaimed Sally. "Better open the case, Gus," said Officer Carlson. Gus laid the cello case on the ground and opened it. Inside was an ape costume. The smell made him stagger. What died in there? Gagged Bugs. "Your brain," snapped Sally. "This is a frame-up." Bugs clenched his fist and snarled, "May a giant clam bite you on the nose." "May a sandbag fall on your head," retorted Sally.
Wait, what? They're doing Karnak the Magician from 1973. May a giant clam bite you on the nose.
Yeah, it's sand-based Karnak-esque.
Yes, sir.
It's sandbag, yes.
Skunk Ape.
Yeah, the Skunk Ape was in town, Ed. He was toasting Don Rickles.
I'm the only one who went to see the Skunk Ape. I drove down there. I saw.
Okay. Calm down.
Okay. Calm down.
You think you're fooling everybody, don't you? Cool it, you two, said Officer Carlson. Bugs reported that the Skunk Ape had been frightening his cousin Wilma for days, so I came over to watch for it. Wilma can't take much more, Bugs said to the policeman. She's an artist on the cello. Artists are very high-strung and nervous. That's why they picked on her. Oh, that's rich, said Sally. She's 17 and a date with Frankenstein would be laughs. You're just trying to get even, Bugs Meany. I don't get that one.
Wait, what?
She's 17 and a date with Frankenstein would be laughs. I don't know. Maybe I deleted a couple words here or something. Anyway,
she's 17 and a date with Frankenstein would be laughs. Oh, yes, sir. That is funny stuff.
What is expensive, has several drinks, and results with a bolt in your neck? A date with Frankenstein.
That is correct, sir.
They knew Wilma's parents are off in Europe, went on Bugs. Poor girl, she's all alone in this big house. A shock like seeing a skunk ape can ruin her career. A skunk ape, not the skunk ape. What about mine? Howled Gus. Officer Carlson waved his hand as a sign for the children to be quiet. We can get to the bottom of this. Is that your cello case, Gus? It looks like mine, replied Gus, but a lot of cases look like mine. Well, it certainly isn't mine, declared Wilma. She went to her car and opened the trunk. She lifted out a cello case. I've been in Glen City playing the cello, she said. When I arrived home, I saw these kids among the trees with the skunk ape costume. When they saw me, they shoved it into the cello case fast. Wilma, our bugs are in this together, Sally angrily whispered to Encyclopedia. I wish I could prove it. You don't have to, replied Encyclopedia. I can. What was the clue?
Oh, boy. This one has a lot of convoluted... There's a lot of brush to clear on this one.
Yeah!
I don't know.
There's a skunk ape costume that is in a cello case and old-timey slang and clams' giant noses.
I feel like I know what the piece of information is, but I'd have to read carefully to know.
Yeah, you can ask for clarification.
Well, okay. I feel like there's something about... what's her name? The one who plays the cello? Who's
Wilma Hutton.
Wilma?
Yeah.
I feel like Wilma's tight skirt is the key to everything. However, I don't know. There's so much. Again, there's so much underbrush. She is supposed to have seen them with the costume on or something.
She said, here we go.
But her arm went, a hairy arm went through his window.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Look, let's not get into the weeds here.
Okay. Yeah.
Because she's wearing a tight skirt, she couldn't have worn the costume. So Bugs had the stinky costume, what did they spray it with? Like manure water? Why is the costume stinky?
What does he say? Oh, the smell made him stagger, and Bugs said, what died in there? So it's must be, a possum that they found under their shed that had died a week earlier.
Yeah, that Mark Rober guy who does the fart spray that he puts in those bombs. I don't know. So I don't know, but I feel like, look, I can't explain the whole thing, but I think that her tight skirt made it impossible for her to put on a skunk ape costume and run as a skunk ape, and so therefore somehow it's Bugs Meany's fault.
All right, I think we're going to be open to partial credit here because you're definitely on the right track. Here we go. The solution to the case of the skunk ape. Again, a 4-year-old, a 4th grader is supposed to be figuring this out. Okay. Bugs got Officer Carlson to wait in Wilma's house during the time Gus always practiced the cello. Meanwhile, Wilma dressed as the skunk ape and stole the cello case. Then she rubbed the costume with rotten eggs, stuffed it into the case, and left the case where it could easily be found. No word on what Bugs and Officer Carlson are doing as they wait in his house, just sort of like drumming their fingers on the table. And so, you still eating the tigers? Yep.
Wait, great. So she put the costume on?
She put the costume on. So your theory, I believe, is accurate because, as we know, the skunk ape costume is a full-body gorilla suit, and it might be harder to manipulate, the slit in your leg, like the legs of the costume, wearing the tight skirt.
That was my theory.
However, she handled that masterfully. But Bugs knew Gus would run to Encyclopedia for help. When the children found the cello case, Wilma was watching from her parked car. She drove up the driveway and then hurried towards the house in her tight skirt. Encyclopedia realized that she could not just have come home from playing the cello as she claimed. A cello is held between the legs.
Oh, God.
A woman wears pants or a loose skirt, never a tight skirt to play it. So, that's like 3/4 of the way there, I would say.
Oh, that is so incredible. Rubbed it with rotten eggs?
Yeah, I guess she opened it and cracked the eggs and started rubbing them on. They presumably rented, or did they buy the skunk ape costume? Are they going to return it smelling like that?
And then to steal a cello?
She would. Yeah, she wore the thing to steal the cello.
How old is she?
She's 17. So,
Mom, Dad, honey, your cello seems perfectly fine to me. Like, no, I think this one is slightly better.
Yeah, was she
So
competing?
therefore, I'm going to buy a Skunk Ape costume.
Which is available for, I mean, he was selling a violin for $10 last time. The Skunk Ape costume's got to run probably half of that. So I don't know if they were competing for the same spot in the orchestra or something. I don't think they said that.
No. He's, how old is he? Well, I mean, the violin player was 11, so maybe I'm pressing that on this cello player. Cello players are naturally older than violin players, of course.
Because it's a larger instrument?
No, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're going for
here?
the same thing. But yeah, so this is one of those like adventure game puzzles. Like, you need to get a cello. First, buy a Skunk Ape costume. Then you're going to need to barter for some chicken eggs and then leave them out on the counter. Anyway, I'd say that's at least half credit, closer to 3/4. But like, you identified the clue, but sometimes you gotta think like Sobel to really get to the bottom of what's going on here.
Boy, that is wow. I've often thought, like, in the world of I wanted to write mysteries where you go like, I guess you could just put anything. If you just work backward from anything, you could come up with something that would make, aha, I see that you did this. And, as long as you make it make sense backwards, you're okay. So I guess if you said, let's start from the fact that someone buys a Skunk Ape costume. I mean, pretty much anything is possible after that.
I'm going to send you a picture of the Skunk Ape costume right now, just so you can see what.
Okay. Yes,
similar
please.
To the ones me and Sean wore when we gorilla grammed for.
Sure. Wow. All right. Yeah. Okay. Here's encyclopedia. Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's a fun thing to imagine the award-winning cellist going into. Although, the guy'd be like, why are you your Bugs Meany's cousin. All right, it all traces back to him.
I like that it is one piece and picked up by the head. And so is it a one-size-fits-all kind of a thing? Like when you buy the costume?
It could be, bespoke. It could be, measuring. They've just got a rack of the Skunk Ape costumes. It looks like Simon Cowell's closet full of like white T-shirts type of thing. Right.
Yeah. And then the cop is kind of doing he's like the Barney Fife, like, now you kids got a Skunk Ape costume there. All right. Well, I'll take whatever credit the listener will give me for that one.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll see what people can hash it out in the comments, but I'm willing to at least consider that definitely partial credit.
Okay. All right. Wow, that's exciting stuff. How many more stringed instruments are there in Idaville?
I don't know. That should be the people should be locking them up and insuring them at this point in time. No, none is safe.
No kidding.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
So long.